We're going to be doing a tributing video remembering and honoring the civil rights activist Jesse Jackson, who was the protege of Mr. Bevel and Dr. Martin Luther King. He is dies at the age of 84 as the tributes pour on for the civil rights icon. The Reverend Jesse Jackson is one of the world's best known black activists who worked alongside Martin Luther King Jr., died at the age of 84. The civil rights movement and beyond was remembered for politicians and prominent activists after it was announced that he died peacefully on Tuesday morning after a long journey with a progressive neurological disease. And for those of you guys, I'm just gonna read more of like, and this is what I'm reading from USA Today as well. So anybody who's joining in, just know that I'm just reading it from there. Jackson was a Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, two-time Democratic presidential candidate, and a mentor to many civil rights leaders. His unwavering belief in justice, equality, and love uplifted millions. We ask you to honor his memory by continuing to fight for the values he lived by, his family said in a statement. Tributes to the charismatic movement builder rolled from across the political spectrum. Jackson was a good man and had a good force and a force of nature. President Donald Trump said on social media, former President Barack Obama and the first former lady Michelle Obama said in a statement that we stood on his shoulders. Jackson, who had lived with progressive cerebral palsy, continued to advocate for civil rights despite his illness, was arrested twice in 2021 over his objection to the Senate filibuster and rule, and didn't speak at the 2024 Democratic National Convention. And how close did Jesse Jackson come to the presidency? Jesse Jackson made a bid for president twice, in 1984 and 1988, running as a candidate in the Democratic primaries. Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush would ultimately win the White House those years. Jackson became the second black person to make a bid for a nomination by a major party after Shirley Chisholm. Though he never made it to the general election, Jackson was known for inspiring millions to register to vote and helping shape Democrats' values on top issues. In 1984, Jackson won primaries in 5 states and secured 18.2% of the total primary vote and 80% of the black vote, losing the Democratic race to former Vice President Walter Mondale. His second bid for the second Democratic nomination in 1988 picked up even more support, won 13 state primaries, including a solid pocket of southern states, including Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, and South Carolina. He doubled his primary votes from his first attempt, and Jackson came second in the primaries behind Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis. Former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama released a statement celebrating Jesse Jackson's lifetime of service and described the immense impact of the civil rights leader had on their lives. For more than 60 years, Reverend Jackson helped lead some of the most significant movements for change in human history, from organizing boycotts, sit-ins registering millions of voters, to advocating for freedom and democracy around the world. He was relentless in his belief that we are all children of God, deserving of dignity and respect, the statement said, and Jackson and Barack Obama didn't always have a close relationship. The civil rights activist, two-time presidential hopeful himself, publicly supported the former president. During the 2008 campaign, Jesse Jackson made several crucial comments about Obama that he later apologized for, saying that he thought he was off the record. And Michelle and I will always be grateful for Jesse's lifetime of service and friendship our family shared. The Obama said in her Tuesday statement, we stood on his shoulders We send out deep condolences to the Jackson family and everyone in Chicago and beyond who knew and loved him. Bill Clinton said Jesse Jackson championed human dignity. Former President Bill Clinton, in a statement, hailed Jesse Jackson for his service to humanity and described decades-long friendship with the civil rights leader whose organizing helped propel Clinton to the White House. And Hillary and I are deeply saddened by the passing of Reverend Jesse Jackson and give thanks for his long, good life, the statement said. We were friends for almost 50 years since we met in 1977 at the 20th anniversary of the integration of Little Rock Central High. Reverend Jackson never stopped working for a better America with brighter tomorrows, Clinton said, adding that Jackson championed the concerns of Black, Latino, Asian, and lower-income white Americans. In 1997, Clinton named Jackson his Special Envoy for Democracy and Human Rights in Africa, and Clinton awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2000. Hillary and I loved him very much, the Clinton said. Our hearts go out to Jackie and their children and their grandchildren and all the people across America around the world who are inspired by his service to humanity. Okay, I'm going to just give you guys some of Jesse Jackson's most powerful quotes. So, Jesse Jackson's decades of activism included a record of profound eloquence, from participating in protests to his foray into politics. Jackson delivered a number of powerful speeches and noteworthy quotes throughout his career. Never look down on anybody unless you're helping them up. This quote was from Jackson's 1988 speech in the Democratic National Convention, while widely circulating online, including by Jackson's own Instagram account. The full quote goes virally. No one should look down on you, but sometimes mean people do. The only justification we have looking down on someone is that we're going to stand to stop and pick them up, Jackson said during the speech. And of course, the Chicago mayor was devastated by Jesse Jackson's passing. He said, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson said in a statement, paid tribute to Jackson, calling him a personal mentor and a freedom fighter with unwavering coverage. I'm devastated to lose my mentor and friend, Reverend Jesse Jackson. So Johnson said in a post on X, I'm deeply grateful for Reverend Jackson and his family embracing me and our city with his wisdom and guidance. His friendship, counsel, and prayers had deep impact on my family. And he added, Reverend Jackson intimately understood what was at stake in the affirming of the humanity of working people. He never lost sight that those fighting for justice are entitled to the most basic needs of health and nutrition, housing, education, and jobs. In order to achieve their greatest potential, Reverend Jackson held strong to this truth, and we are all somebody. And the NAACP said Jackson was a towering moral voice. The NAACP in a statement lauded Jackson as a transformative leader whose life work was deeply woven into the history, mission, and enduring impact of our association and nation. Reverend Jackson's leadership in advancing voting rights, economic justice, and educational opportunities strengthened the very pillars of our community, whether challenging racially discriminatory policies, uplifting marginalized voices, or building multiracial movements through the Rainbow Push Coalition. He forged the path forward to eliminate racial discrimination and ensure full political, educational, social, and economic equality for all. The group's statement said, Reverend Jackson passing marks the loss of a towering moral voice, but the movement helped build will carry his life forward, the group added, and his legacy calls each of us to stay committed, stay organized, and remain faithful to the pursuit of justice. The National Civil Rights Museum honors Jesse Jackson. And of course, the National Civil Rights Museum in a statement described Jesse Jackson as a fearless champion for justice, equality, and human dignity. The museum array of historic buildings includes the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, where Dr. Martin Luther King was fatally shot on the balcony in April 4, 1968. Jackson, a 26-year-old rising figure in the civil rights movement, witnessed the shooting for decades and has returned to the motel, remembering King and his legacy. Year after year, he returned not just to remember, but to recommit, reminding us that the work continues. The museum said of Jackson, his voice challenged power, his faith inspired action, his life changed history. And we extend our deepest condolences to the Jackson family and to all who have carried forward his mission. The Illinois governor lowers flags to honor Jesse Jackson. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said he was honoring flags to be lowered in honor of Jesse Jackson, who he called a giant of the civil rights movement. He broke down barriers, inspired generations, kept hope alive, which included a photo of the two men together at an event. Our state, nation, and world are better due to his years of service. And ordering flags to have mass to honor him. May his memory be a blessing. But yeah, pretty much my thoughts are very similar to a lot of these very more so political figures, you know, that have known a lot about Jesse Jackson and everything about his career, being close in the ministry and being close, for that civil rights movement and everything. So, yeah, Jesse Jackson not only to me was a absolute a force of nature. He pretty much challenged a lot of power, racial discrimination against not only black and brown people, but of all nations of color. So he really, definitely changed. He definitely wanted to change that way of thinking for a lot of American culture. Definitely one of the prominent figures in activism. And it pretty much was showed that everyone had a lot of affection and appreciation for him. And a lot of us not only should honor him with the kind of grace and dignity, but remember him for that. But then due to Black History Month, we got to really go beyond and really just understand what a lot of these guys, a lot of these prominent figures, political figures were fighting for. They were standing up and challenging the truth and the power, challenging the system and looking for justice and equality, and uplifting our own people, uplifting our own movement, and really trying to build together and build stronger within our own communities. Don't try to rely on these top worthy, upworthy figures that don't have our backs and don't have our strong suit in power and justice. Don't have our strong suit in power. Period. But just try to at least educate yourself, and try to be above all, and try to be equal to each other, and respect each other's opinions, and respect each other's ideals and morals and values. But yeah, that's all I got to say about this whole segment. I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts. So, all right, thank you for watching. Wow.